Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 478, and today we have both Tuhon, Bill McGrath, and Tuhon, Jared. And today we're going to be talking about their collaborations, past and what is coming down the pipeline for our future. And so this is going to be nothing but a positive interview to see what these gentlemen have been doing and how they've been trying to actually unite while propagating the PTK martial art and system and all that. But more importantly, again, unifying the student body. Right. And that's what we're going to focus on today. If you have questions that are going to be kind of on the dramatic side or politics, I'm not going to present them. So please try to avoid that. OK. All right. Without further ado, here we go. Hey, Tuhons, how are you?
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Thank you guys for doing this. I know I didn't give you an incredible lot of notice, so I appreciate you guys coordinating your schedule to do such. And we got to get off at 2 because Tuhon, Jared needs to catch a plane. So we're gonna but if it presents itself, we can always do a second part. I'd be happy to do that. So past collaboration, you guys met in Las Vegas. I don't recall.
Actually, before that, if you let me give some background, we'll explain things. So 2019. I was beginning to plan a group of joint seminars for 2020. My plan was to do one in Europe and one in the US. And I wanted to bring both groups together. The old group trained in the 70s and 80s under Leo, and then the newer group who trained in the 90s and 21st century, let's say. So I was very specifically looking for someone from the new group to represent that group well. And I'd heard a lot of good things about Jared. And looking at his videos online, he had quite simply the best footwork of any of the new group guys. I mean, using it specifically the way I learned it, in that use this port for this reason, in this way, here are the pros and cons of different things. And it still kept the Piquetti Tertia rules. A lot of guys were doing footwork, were demoing in demo style with just flashy hands. They weren't using the footwork. Or someone would take one piece of footwork and that worked for them in their environment with their physical and mental attributes, and extrapolating it out to, okay, everyone should do it this way all the time under all circumstances. So Jared was really using it well. He has a good reputation. He's a law enforcement. He's a good family man. He has a good reputation for honesty and integrity. So I said, I'll get Jared. And I met him. He was doing a seminar about an hour south of my house in New York in June, I think, of 2019. So I met with him. We had a nice conversation. We had everything set up for Vegas in 2020. Then the pandemic hit, and we didn't get to do it till 2021. So, Jared, do you want to take from there?
Yeah, no. So that was our how we first met, and it was great for me because Tuhon Bill's reputation precedes him. It was kind of my experience within Piquetti Tertia. When I get into something, I get into it. I do my research. What's there to do, what is there out there, and that's and Tuhon Bill's name was a name that just constantly came up, as really one of the not the originals, obviously, but just as one of the more prominent instructors out there. And when they're that prominent, there's a reason, And so I followed him for years. It was kind of like meeting one of your idols when we got to meet there and. In New York and discuss the opportunity for a collaboration, and so that was awesome. And then we finally were able to get together to do that first one that you mentioned in Las Vegas, and that was the pandemic all kind of blurs together. What year was that we were in Vegas?
I believe that was 21. We had tried 21. To do it for 20, and then the lockdown came, and it started to open up in 21. I want to say September of 21, things started to open up, and so we made it for October of 21. Then that went so well, we did another one with Radio Naldo, the three of us in Atlanta, Georgia in June of 22 to coincide with the Blade Show down there.
That's right.
And I've tried to get these I've been doing joint seminars a while with a couple of people. They really started to take off once the lockdowns from the pandemic ended. But I go back to that example of Leo and Eddie Joffrey back in the very early 80s, and then Gurden and Asanto came in, and it was good for the instructors, especially the guys who were older. You don't want to sit there. When I was in my 30s, you could do 12-hour days at a seminar. Can't do that now. So like Leo and Eddie used to go tag team us. Leo would get up in the morning at dawn, go out in the field, work out. Leo would destroy our arms to exhaustion. Then he'd get tired. Tag Eddie, okay, you're in. Eddie Joffrey would come in and do this Salat footwork and low ground work. And I remember duck walking around a field, do one step up and kick, back on a squat, step up and kick, round and round in a field, and then your legs are totally exhausted. But we loved it. We ate it up. And it was a good way for people to learn and compare. Human beings, when their children learn through comparisons, female faces look like mommy, look like grandma, look like Aunt Sarah. Male faces look like dad, look like Uncle Harry, look like grandpa. And it's a good way for the brain to learn, especially if you don't have a basis in a good foundation of things. And as you get to be an adult, it's also very good to learn that way, because now you can understand theories. The teacher will explain to you why we're doing it this way and why not that way. What are the pros and cons of it? After you have a foundation, it's also a good way to learn. So I've been trying to get more and more collaborations with different people. Sometimes Tertia people, sometimes other arts, to show how they do it differently and why they do it differently. I think it's really a good thing for an elder instructor to do. And in my 60s, I could say elder instructor. And you should have enough confidence in your art that, you're allowed your students to see other things. I've spoken previously, and should be pretty obvious to anyone with a sense these days. With the internet, people are going to compare you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. You have 7 billion people on this planet. There's enough students to go around. It's like, I tell people, it's like holding water in your hand. If you cup it, you're going to hold more water than if you close it up tight and not try to let any leaks. There's going to be leaks. You're going to have more water if you cup it and let the water find its own level. So that's my thought on it. Jared.
No, it's so true. I mean, like, with all the people on the planet and like this harboring the students in indentured servitude, don't let them be exposed to anything else. I think the students appreciate. I know mine do. I tell them, like, look, you're the most important piece of the puzzle, not me or the system. Your journey to student. Man, you are free to go do what you want and all that. In a private conversation, obviously behind closed doors, more candid conversations can happen. But in the public, I stay away from that. It's just not good taste. You know what I mean? It's just not. But Tuhon, Jared, so when you did the first one, 2021, I mean, it must be pretty neat because and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I know you're coming more from a tri-V. I know you've been exploring Dose Methodos and now that from having you previously on and talking to some of your folks. I mean, both your, and I just want to piggyback a little, both your reputations are excellent. When people ask me, I get messages all the time, hey, I know you interviewed a bunch of PTK guys, who you recommend? Your two names come out. Just because the way you guys run your organization, I look at your guys' reps and I look how they conduct themselves. And it's nothing but just professional and stellar. So commend you both on that. But back to my question to Jared. So you're more tri-V, and so what did you get out of it? Like seeing Tuhon Bill, who I'm assuming came more from Dose Methodos, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, it's just amazing because I see those common threads, the roots of what we're teaching, but we express it in such a different way, and it's obvious for maybe the untrained eye is going to see Pikiti Tertia, right? But for those that have trained a bit or have an eye for it, we teach the same art in different ways, and I seeing the way that he teaches, the way his methodology, a lot of it is reaffirming. It's like, I kind of had that twist on that same subsystem or drill also. So it's really cool to see that. And some of it is learning, it's like, that's that kind of a cool methodology. I think I might borrow some of that. So it's just, I love the, what it gives, well, me personally, because it enhances my growth as an instructor, but also those that are attending these courses. I really think it's super healthy for them to see the art expressed in different ways, because they get to find their own way, maybe, of expressing the art as an instructor or performing the art. I think that variation and seeing that we all have our own, ways of, whether it's our methodologies, our personalities that are expressed through the way that we teach, our different, angles on different parts of the art, even our strengths and weaknesses. And so I think each student really benefits from seeing that and be able to absorb things that may be best for them.
Yeah. I mean, that's wow. And so, you mentioned when you first came on, like, here you are, like, it's like a guy going through college. He's in the pros now, and this guy he's been watching, now he's on the court with him. You know what I mean?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, there he is, and I'm playing against him or with him.
Yeah, it's quite surreal, but it's awesome. Yeah.
I think that is so special, like hearing that. I think that's really neat. And Tuhon, Bill, you cold? You got your hat on. What's going on?
Well, I'm trying to avoid glare in the camera.
So Tuhon,
I
Bill,
started back when I had a big head of hair. It just came as Frank.
No, I think no. So Tuhon, Bill, so here you're seeing, this up and coming, obviously more than up and coming. I mean, he's obviously got a name for himself and what he's done and achieved. So you're seeing, this guy who idolizes you. So, what was your take on it? Like, and you're coming more from Dos Methodos. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. So I started in February of 75. So next year is going to be my 50th anniversary in Peter Tertia.
Oh.
For the first year, I was in the kids group. Leo was teaching out of his garage. It was a bunch of row houses on 97th Street or Avenue, 97th Street in Queens, in Helmhurst, Queens. He was around the corner from my house. And my friend and I, Matty, lived around the corner from me. He was 2 years younger than me. He was able to start when Leo moved into the neighborhood in 73. And I think it was $2 a week or $2 a lesson then Leo was charging. He was working as an insurance medical examiner. We drive around and do blood pressure tests and things like that for people so they get medical insurance, right? And so we would get home and teach twice a week. I think it was Tuesday, Thursday nights for 2 hours. And a lot of it was just basic kickboxing. But it was the kicking and boxing style, I found out later, was very much Peter Tertia bare knuckle boxing type. You weren't hitting with the idea you had wraps and gloves on. You were hitting with the idea you had nothing on your hand in certain targets, certain angles. Anyway, so after 6 months, so Mike started in 73 when Leo started, moved in the neighborhood. I couldn't afford it then. I had to wait till I was 14 and got a paper route. By that time, inflation had hit, and it costs now $2.50 a lesson. But I got a paper route and I was able to afford it. After 6 months, a real martial arts school moved down a couple blocks away, opened up. I think it was a karate school. And so all the kids left except me and Mike. So Leo moved the class into the basements of the different Philippine businesses, restaurant, the bakery, kind of hopped back and forth like that. Until finally went to, I think, August of 76, he moved into the handball court on the roof of the Philippine consulate at Manhattan. And then when the weather got cold, one of the early students of that group were the Syaks. And Bo Syak, the father, was part owner of a Taekwondo school. And half of the building was a big building. Half the building was unused. And we used to go in there in cold weather. So anyway, that's when also in late 76, That's also when Leo started the Honest America organization. And it was a group of, he got it, mostly Filipinos he met through the Lions Club, I believe. I think we gave a demo there, and then a bunch of Filipinos came up. And he started that, and it was people, Filipino people. So it was Bosayak was in there, Butcha there was a guy Garaga, there was Jun de Leon, not Doug Marcade's instructor, different de Leon. But anyways, a bunch of Filipino guys. And that's when we first saw, so let's say 77, that's when we first saw the Doce Marthados list. Leo came out with a pamphlet that had a Doce Marthados. And I remember there were two listings. I have an article in or an essay on my blog page about the Doce Marthados. You type Piketty blog in Google and it'll come up. And I remember two lists. One list had just the, everything was listed on the solo baston or solo sword stick. And then another had all the weapons listed in the Doce Marthados. And double A was its own method. Spotted dagger was its own method. Dagger was its own method. But I can't remember which one was first and second. I'm kind of leaning towards only the solo numerology numbering was the first one I got, but I don't recall. It's a long time ago. But later versions of that I saw, and then Honest America broke up in 79 for political reasons. Surprise. So anyway, and then Leo went to Nara USA, patterned after Nara Phil in the Philippines, National Artist Association of the Philippines. So anyway, when we started, we were just doing drills of from the what's not a Doce Marthados, what's 64 attacks, what we're teaching now. And I think 77 or 78, probably 77, we had our first tournament, and Leo wanted to have a forms competition before the tournament. And I think it was also part of our test for our first rank. So he took the drills we had been using and put them into a form. And that's why you see the numbering in 64 attacks form looks a little odd. Like some things are included, some things are not. You know, it really catch and catch can. And they just wanted a compact thing. Quick funny story. So everyone is going up. We have to give a history of the Philippines. So everyone goes up, and on March or April 21st. Anyway, 1521, Magellan, while circumnavigating the world, came upon the island of Mactan in the Philippines. Right? So there I am, 16, 17-year-old Billy, smart aleck teenager. When it's my turn, and I'm like fourth or fifth or sixth, go up and I give my speech and I say, yes, Ferdinand Magellan, while circumcising the world, came upon the island of Mactan, and all the old men in the, who were the Honest America group at that time, are just nodding. They just, they're not listening at this point. And I remember Tom Bezio came up to me afterwards and said, now I know why the Filipinos are so pissed off at Magellan. But anyway, so that was Doce Marthados. I'm honestly not sure how Leo was taught, if they used if his grandfather used the Doce Marthados terminology with him. The techniques were there, but because he used two different versions of it, all solo and then with all different weapons as another version, I'm not sure if the terminology was used when Leo was a kid. And just a quick aside, and I'll turn it over to Jared. I'm sure he has lots to say on it. We had a guy in the system, Omar Hakim, who was a computer programmer, very, very smart guy. He did all the install on military bases in Texas for computers, really sharp guy. And he said, I've noticed something about Leo and a lot of other instructors of that age group from the Philippines. They'll show you a form, and this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, this is number 4. And then when you go to ask them can you review number 3 with me? I'm unsure about this. Number 4, and then say, oh, you do it. Let me watch. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Correct this, move this. He can do the body mechanics correctly. But if you ask him which was number 3, which was number 4, they'll have a hard time telling you that, which sequence he gave it to you. And Omar's theory was Leo learned it as, aside from the basics like Obsidario, that seems logical to have in a numbered format. But a lot of advanced things, Sagittus, Contratus, Recontra, especially the advanced material, Omar thinks Leo got as, okay, here's Largo Sagittus theory. And Grandpa may have given Leo 10, 20, 40, 50 different variations of technique, depending how Leo fed him attacks. And just to illustrate the theory, this is some samples of how to work these formula. Like here's some formulas of algebra, here's some formulas of calculus, here's some formulas of trigonometry. But it doesn't necessarily follow that the first one has to be number 1, the second one has to be number 2. He's giving you examples of how to work the theory. Okay, here's Medio Sagittus, here's Quarto Sagittus. And I remember when he was training us, he was saying that break in, break out was a drill from Sagittus. I'm assuming the Largo and Quarto sets, Largo and Medio sets. Sagang Labo was definitely a drill for the Quarto set, the third set. 5 attacks, basic 5 attacks was a drill for Contratus, especially the first set, and so on and so on. So people tend to get very rigid in terminology. It's kind of like, people, arguing over what color lightsaber a Jedi should have, They, especially young guys, when they get into something, they get really into something. I've heard a lot of people, the martial arts students, the kids get a uniform and they go to bed with it at night, especially the boys. There's something different about boys. A little aside, Legos did a study trying to get more girls to play with the Legos. And they found little boys, when they play with, let's say, character of Batman, they become Batman. They talk like Batman when they're playing it. They do Batman things. They try to figure out how Batman would solve this problem. When girls play with Batman, they make Batman become them. Batman goes shopping. Batman takes care of babies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, the male and female brain are wired differently. And that's, I think, explains a lot of how these guys get really, really into, it's like sports fans wearing the sport jersey. They never played football in their life, but they're wearing the jersey of their favorite player. It's kind of like that, and arguing over stats like it's war. Another quick aside, I'm sorry. There's something called the Dunbar number. An anthropologist many years ago, looked at primates and extrapolated from the size of a certain part of their brain what number of people you can have in your tribe. And it was basically how many faces can you recognize. And when you start going outside that number, that's the enemy, that's the other. A lot of primitive cultures, not primitive, a lot of.
Uh-oh.
He's just going to leave us hanging like that?
It must be a quick lift. I'm sure he'll be coming back on. So while he comes back, so Tuhon Jared, so what did you get out, your first collaboration? I know obviously your season in PTK. Was there something that resonated with you that Tuhon Bill was showing?
Well, I mean, probably one of the biggest things that resonated with me is really just his personality, his demeanor. He's a really nice guy, easy to work with, super knowledgeable, but not overbearing or not too. What's the word I'm looking for? I like working with people like him that have the knowledge, have the skill, but have some humility about them. And
not shoving down your throat.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, hey, the way I teach it is the way, the only way, and not everything else is wrong. He doesn't have that attitude or demeanor in the way he teaches, and he's very open-minded. And so I think that was one of the first things. But he's just the way he performs. Yeah, he's very technical, but very strong and powerful in how he performs the techniques. There's nothing weak about it. So he's able to be a very technical instructor, but with a lot of strength and power in the way he delivers his technique. And I think that's I mean, I think a lot of, to toot the PTK horn, I think that's a very common thing within PTK is, a lot of focus on strike mechanics and the ability to kind of hit with authority, some good speed and power timing. With your speed, power, time, precision, and accuracy is what's always, regurgitated as the main attributes. But his ability to have that while also being very technical in his application of that just kind of shows how much time and how many years he's really put into his training.
50 years this year. I mean, that's like, I would have never guessed 50 years. Yeah, that's like,
I think he said next year is the 50.
Oh,
yeah,
next year, coming up on a half a century. I mean, that's good God. I mean, hopefully, and here he is. He's back. Oh yeah, I'm bringing you up now. Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, I was just asking Tuhon Jared what he thought, what you were presenting, and what he got out of it, what resonated with him. But you were on his story, Tuhon Bill, or?
Oh yeah, I was just going to mention, and you still see people today, indigenous people around the world, and you still see it in some ancient cultures as well. The word for themselves, their own tribe, is the people, or human beings, or the equivalent. And the word for the people, I mean, literally in some cases, across the river, genetically identical with their tribe. The word for that tribe is the enemy, demons, beasts, things like that. Even today in modern Chinese, the word for foreigners is like me is like a white ghost. Certain people will be different. X ghost, this ghost, that ghost.
I think something like that.
And back in the Roman times, everyone outside of Italy were the barbarians. And you see some cultures still do that. Is your generic term for foreigners is something below us. So there's something in human beings that automatically does that. So anyway, let's move on to the future because it is almost 1:30. So next year.
Okay, so you guys did the first one 2021. You did a second one in Atlanta, except you had a third person, which was
Ray Donaldo.
Was that sounds like that was equally successful? I mean,
oh yeah, that was good. That was big. I think a reason it was big is one, the Atlanta area has a big population. Two, I think a lot of people got an injection of COVID money they didn't know what to do with.
Stimulus.
That was it. And like Jared and I and Ray were trying to do another one beginning of this month, and we had to pull out because we kind of turned it over to Ray because the rent was so high, and we weren't getting enough people to cover rent, so they just brought it into Ray's school, and Ray's local and expenses are local for going there. So I know, especially Jared is coming from all the way across the country. I think you were in Europe at the time. Yeah. And I felt bad because Jared actually moved one of his seminars dates to do the
accommodate
the Florida one.
That's actually the one I'm flying to today. Yeah, I forgot about that, but
it didn't make sense. So he turned it over to Ray. Ray's local, expenses low, moved into Ray's local school, and that wind up being good for Ray. But what I'd like to do next year to celebrate my 50th anniversary in Tertia is do more collaborative seminars. And it makes sense to do them with other Tertia people. So I'd like to do another big one with Jared, somewhere that's convenient for him because I'm retired. I got a lot easier open schedule than he does. But I want to do these things of learning through comparisons. My summer camp next year, I'm just teaching in the morning. Tuhon Jack Latour is teaching in the afternoon.
Who's that?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
He's this guy, very nice guy, moves well in my group. So anyway, what I'm trying to do, part of it is I'm trying to turn over the teaching of the whole system to the next generation. Mm. I'm getting older. I don't move as well as I used to. I can't simply teach. Never mind 12-hour day. I can't teach an 8-hour day like I used to. I can't. It's hard for me to teach a 6-hour day like I used to. So what I'm trying to do is get more 3-hour days, and I can keep going on my feet for 3 hours, okay, and then have a different instructor in the afternoon, or vice versa, whatever they want to do. So, but to do like very technical stuff like a spotted dagger. You'll see me in a seminar in Las Vegas in 2000. So I'm 40 years old. It was June of 2000. I was doing the second set of spotted dagger material, and it just flowed off my tongue like nothing. It was could remember everything in sequence without a problem. And then as I got into my mid 40s, I started to look at my notes between techniques more and more and more. Then I got into my 50s and started to have to review the video to line up the notes and spend like a week of prep, for complicated things like that. Some things are easy, but that one's complicated, spotted dagger work. And now it's just, I don't have the memory to remember everything. I kind of see where Leo and a lot of the older teachers are, except Dan. He's an android. He's not human. Having difficulty remembering this complex things, especially in sequence. You can look at the technique and very easily see, okay, this is the mechanics, is what you should be doing. These are the rules you need to follow. But in terms of, especially for me, because I want to teach it majority of the way I got it and use it for testing purposes. I want everyone to start on the same page for testing purposes of PTI. Then when they teach it, they can teach any way they want. But when they pass a test, it should be what is on our videos. That's kind of the official version for testing purposes. It's time for me to pass the baton to the younger generation to teach the full system. Can't even talk as long as I used to. And me to segue over to just teaching the fun stuff, things I want to do, and let the next generation take over, teaching the full system and making the next level of PTI instructors. So 2025, next year, my 50th anniversary, I intend that to be kind of my transition year, where I do a lot of joint seminars.
Okay.
There's a reason we've been having the PTI summer camps and close by Jack Latour, because I want people to get used to going there. And, I may not do many of the big summer camps, for, after 2025. I might just switch over, I'm going to spend my alphas. I got arthritis in different joints. I don't like to drive at night anymore. There's certain things. Flying, I used to enjoy flying. I don't anymore.
Oh, I never enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot. It was easier when you're younger anyway. So anyway, I always tell the people I'm not the star of the show. The technique is the star of the show. Peter Tersh is the star of the show. I always emphasized, because it's true, I was never the best athlete in the group. I was never the best guy in the group. We always assumed either Tom Biggio or Erwin Biarta would take over for Leo. And they had to leave for various reasons. But they were really the best guys. They would trade back the championship title back and forth at tournaments. But I was simply the guy who stuck there the longest. That's kind of my claim to fame. And I took good notes.
That definitely speaks volumes for your student body and what you created in the organization, that you have. So
yeah. And when Jared says I hit hard, move well, it's not me. I was not the best guy in the group. I'm not, false humidity. I really was not the best guy in the group. It's the technique makes you hit hard, makes you move well. You follow these rules, you will hit hard. Anyway, Jared, off to you. Why don't you talk some?
So, Tuhon, Jared, before we go into the future and all that, like, what was some of the feedback you were getting, like, far as your guys' collaboration and that, like, seeing the different decades of information, what have you?
I mean, all the feedback I got was very positive. Everyone really enjoyed the different events that we've done. They like seeing the different angles of how the art is taught. From and like I mentioned earlier, some of those angles are based on the individual, and some of it, a big part of it is based on the generation that we come from within the Pikiti-Tosha, how we were trained in the art by Graham Tuhon, and so kind of being able to see and compare and kind of you see a lot of people that have been either in the art for a while or have studied the different ways of training the art, kind of comparing notes and cross-referencing and stuff. So I think it's pretty, especially for those people that are very much into the minutia, into the detail. It's very educational for them to be able to kind of mix two comparisons.
I mean, God, I look at it from like, KI could ever do that. I think it would be, how neat would that be for the student body to see the different factions and their interpretations? And I just think for the student body, it'd be so beneficial. And that's one of the things before we go into the future, because I know we have to get Jared out of here, Tuhon Jared out of here too. What is your guys' goal? Each of you, the same question for both of you. Like, what do you want for the student body of PTK, regardless of what faction they're under? Like, what would you guys like to see, like, really happen as far as future tense? And I think you guys are setting a tone for that. Tuhon Jared, what do you want to
see? I'd like to see the art have its place where I think it deserves to be on a global scale. Compared to many other arts out there, that's really an unknown. I mean, a lot of people we talk to, you say, I'm just the Filipino martial arts in general are pretty. I'll be down next weekend, not this, on the 26th. I'm heading down to Brazil for about 6 weeks, and there's limited exposure of Filipino martial arts down there. It's there. There are some people that are teaching stuff down there. Recently I saw, Anderson Silva saying, hey, if there was someone in a Brazilian interview, someone asked him, if you were to go back in time and train just one art, right? What art would that be? And this is Anderson Silva. He said Filipino boxing. And they said, what is Filipino boxing? He said, well, in reality, it's Kali, But I've got a clip. I need to post it. It's all in Portuguese, so it's a translation. But it's really neat to see someone at that level. But I think that's the people that really get into the Filipino martial arts in general, but particularly Pikiti-Tosha. Obviously, we gravitated. I trained several other Filipino martial arts before I kind of grabbed onto Pikiti-Tosha, and I saw a lot of value there. And I think I'd like to see the art to kind of start to come forward as a valuable art. There's so much to the art. I'd like to see quality within, people be able to get quality training, quality control, I guess you could say. I launched, 6 years ago, Pikiti University, and as a means to be able to do that. And it's helped definitely, because I saw some of my students in different parts of the world. When I got to a seminar with them, sometimes the techniques changed a little bit. And I was like, hey, hold on, this is the way it should be done. So I was like, well, if they had a video reference, then maybe the quality control would be there. People around the world that want to train, they don't have anyone around them. So, hey, here's a way to get started. There's no replacement for in-person training. We all know that, but you can get value out of online stuff without a doubt.
100%. 100%.
So anyway, I'd like to see I'd like to see the politics dissolve, and I'd like to see a lot of us, work together. There's there's no reason for it. We all have people train with us for different reasons, and people train with several of us at the same time, and I encourage that with my students, my following to. So I think I'd like to see more unity also as part of that. Kind of moving forward of the art and being more renowned internationally, but also that quality control to continue.
I think you guys are setting a tone for that, and that's why I wanted to get you guys on, because hopefully folks will mirror what you guys are doing, and that being the younger generation that's coming up, the upper tier, if you will, following your guys' footsteps and continue that propagation, not just the art, but the whole thing of working together. Let's get rid of the politics. Okay, in there. So Tuhon Bill, same.
Oh no, another Tuhon Bill aside. Trolling is trolling a fishing lure in a boat is illegal in bass tournaments. The reason is It's very effective. You're taking your lure and going by hundreds of fish.
Mm.
And you find, you troll a couple of lures, and you'll discover what the fish are biting that day. But it's illegal in a bass tournament because it's too effective. What you see a lot of these days is people do not realize that the internet gives you the ability to expose your technique to the whole world, and you can draw from people who like your technique.
Mm.
Those will be your students. So they're still in the mindset of, I'm stranded on the shore. This is my spot on the edge of this lake, and no one else can fish on my side of the lake within casting distance of me. I did a seminar with the joint seminar with Mark Denny back in last year in June, and we were discussing who goes where. And I said, people come to me, they tend to gravitate. They tend to be eggheads, martial art nerds, who want to learn the whole tertiary system in the way I was taught in the 70s and 80s. They want that particular thing. They like history. They're the kids who took their toys apart as a kid, tried to put them back together, see how they work, right? Mark gets more of the hard hitters. I want to fight. I don't care why this technique works. Give me stuff that works. I just want to bang up with guys and butt heads and certain type of mindset and certain personality type gravitates towards Mark. The people who gravitate towards me are not going to gravitate towards Mark. People who gravitate towards Mark probably won't gravitate, don't have the patience to sit here and listen to me talk all day. So there's enough people to go around. I would like people, especially the younger guys who feel like they're in competition with other instructors. In this day and age, you're not in competition with your next door neighbor. You're in competition with people over the world. But guess what? You're going to wind up attracting the people who like your teaching style. Who I've had people come to me and say, Bill, even if you were teaching Taekwondo, I'd still want to learn from you because, I like your teaching style and I have a high tolerance for bad jokes, But your competition is all over the world, but your student base is also all over the world. You will get people who like your teaching style.
Mm.
There's a lot of pressure on guys who are trying to do this for a living. It's very difficult to do this for a living.
Oh my gosh.
The two groups I see who do martial arts for a living are one like Jared or Guru Dan, who travel around seminars almost every weekend. Guru Dan, I think your wife limits you to twice a month, Jared, something like that.
I'm trying to tone it down. I am this, yeah.
You're still young and in demand, so. But so two groups like that are just seminar basics and don't have a high overhead in terms of a physical brick and mortar school. Guru Dan is both, but anyway. And then the other group that does well financially but got destroyed during the pandemic are the martial art universities with physical brick and mortar structures.
Yeah.
The Kempo-Con in Hanover, Germany, MKG, Minnesota College Group, Rick Faye's group in Minneapolis, Minnesota. There's a guy in Japan who does JKD, whose name escapes me. I believe his is the biggest martial arts school in the world. I want to say he has like 5,000 students pre-pandemic. Ralph in Germany was telling me they had 1,500 back in 2019, and we're looking to get 2,000 by the end of the year, students. But the thing is, it's a university. They don't have 2,000 people in one class.
Right.
They have 20 and 30 people in 100 classes. So those are the two groups. Those are the two groups I've seen that do well financially. So what I recommend to my students is have a day job that has good benefits, good pay, teach nights and weekends or teach online, have an occasional, like I was a court officer, New York State court officer for 30 years. And I did a seminar back in the 90s, probably doing, once a month when I was trying to build PTI. I wasn't relying on it for my income. I did a lot that lost money or broke even, barely. a lot of things because you didn't have the internet to do advertising for you. So anyway, don't look at it like you're competing, that you have competition. There's enough people out there who would like to go and train with. They like your teaching style. They like what you're teaching. What you have to do is troll your lure past them, and they will go and train with you. And don't be jealous if people train with multiple people. That's better for the student if they do that.
Absolutely.
It's the 21st century. You cannot stop them from doing that. That's my advice. Jared, off to you.
So here, because I know we're coming up, because I got less than 2, and I know Jared is got an airport. Okay, future. So what's to my Jared, future collaboration. So what's coming down the pipeline with you guys?
Well, we're actually in discussions of a couple of things. One was potentially an online Zoom kind of a seminar, and my last couple of experiences with that, because during the pandemic that was the big thing, and I think there's been a tone down of how good that's. But Tuhon Bill's sounds like he had some great experience with that. Just kind of modifying the pricing so that people, you can attract more people. So we were talking about that. And we're also looking at some dates for something, dates and location later in the year potentially, or even into the the new year to help celebrate the 50th anniversary of Tuhon's time in Pikiti Tertia. So there's definitely a few things that we're working on. I'm all about it. I think it's one of the greater collaborations that I could be involved in with regards to Pikiti Tertia Kali. So yeah, I'm just eager to see what we can do.
I think it's great. Like I said, you guys can model for the younger generation what you guys are doing together. I think it's going to be a win-win for everybody.
And maybe set a tone. There's other prominent Pikiti Tertia instructors and organizations out there, and so maybe we'll be able to get others to kind of join in on the fun.
Yeah. So you got so the up and coming internet, which sounds great. I think you guys are going to do very well in that arena. And now, but you also, as far as physically and to get together, whether it's Tuhon Bill's 50th tour or whatever, but it sounds like you guys will do something regardless.
Yeah, we're talking about doing a Zoom class together. We got to work out the details. My schedule a lot more than Jared's. So when he comes back from this next trip, so I'm sorry, we'll talk more. Jared, why don't you say something?
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's and even when I'm traveling, I'm always, the work never stops. You talk about becoming successful as a full-time instructor. I was a full-time police officer when I got out of this is back in 2000, when I got out of my my FTO, my field training, and I got a steady schedule. I started teaching few classes a week. I did the old go through the yellow pages and send out letters to different school dojos out there. Hey, anyone, let me teach in your space. I'm looking for and things worked out with a particular location. And actually, the guy that opened space for me to teach for many years, he's very successful. Ninja Kids is his thing now. A lot of kids out there know these guys, but they do very big. But it's Shane Myler. He was one of the guys that had a Taekwondo school. And was like, hey, come teach classes in my school. So, but I was teaching on the side of my police job. I didn't make money doing it. It was everything I did make, I reinvested to bring Grant Tuhon over to train with me and fly over to train with him, and so I just reinvested what I made back into my training, but I did it on the side of my full-time police job. And my big break, I guess you could say, because I never intended to be a full-time instructor. I was doing night school to become a federal police officer. I wanted to go into the State Department or FBI, and finished. I was going to night school, finished my degree, but my break was when I got a military contract. This is 2005, and that gave me kind of a realization that you can make money teaching, and that expanded into expanding my seminars. It gave me kind of a little bit more, I guess, flexibility with what I was doing, and I did that on the side of my police job for another 4 or 5 years before I left full time and to be an instructor full time. So for me, following my passion did turn into an actual full-time career, and organically, not intentionally. But yeah, I think kind of tailing on that topic that you were discussing, I think that's always a good thing to do is, put the time into your passions and do it on the, don't put all your eggs in one basket, kind of, do it on the side of your full-time job. And who knows where it'll take you. A lot of people I know, they just enjoy their careers, but love actually teaching on the side. And it's a great thing for them. And others actually end up doing it full-time. So.
Yeah, I give people credit that do it, that are actually making a living. It can't be easy. I love it. Like, I teach what I want. If I don't want to teach you, I just don't. If I get a bad vibe or whatever it may be, or but
it's nice to have that flexibility, because when you do it for
oh my God, I love it.
I did that too when I was on the side of my police job.
Yeah. It's so great.
And to interject, Jared mentioned a third group that does well financially, and that's the martial arts schools that basically pay the rent, pay the bills, and make a profit off their kids' classes.
Yeah, the kids.
No one has a Philippine martial art kids class that makes them money. It's usually some type of karate or taekwondo. And then at night, they have the fun class of teaching Philippine martial arts.
No, it's kids. Yeah, it's kids driven. Yeah, profit.
And Mike Popolizio, one of the Tuhons in Tertia, and he started in the early 90s with me, and he was a police officer, sergeant working in Brooklyn started in the 60s. So really tough, hardcore guy. 20 years of boxing, Japanese jiu-jitsu, and I think one other style of Philippine martial arts before coming to Pico de Tertia. Lots of experience. But he said something to me that made a lot of sense. You start off in a garage teaching for fun, and you end up with 5 really good students. Then you go and you get a lot of people asking about it. You can't fit any more people in the garage. And you get a small gig at a YMCA or teaching at somebody else's school, somewhere you don't have to pay rent. And you wind up with enough people eventually, say you wind up with 50 people. And out of those 50 people, there's 5 really good guys and 45 guys who pay the rent. Then you wind up with enough guys where you I can get my own school. And you go and you get to open up your own school, and you wind up with 100 guys, 100 students at the official commercial school, and you really just have 5 really good guys and 95 guys who pay the rent and pay your bills. I said you're never going to get more than 5 good guys at a time, and it's pretty close to my experience. Maybe I have a little bit more than that, but you don't have 100 good guys.
No. They're truly vested.
Yeah,
being the best version of themselves. No.
Yeah. So, it's, in this, the technology we have these days, guys, I would say this to the young guys who are younger than me, who are trying to do this for a living, trying to teach people to tertiary for a living. You came in at a time where you have the best opportunity to do that without politics. You can go online, do Zoom classes, get people warmed up that way, do your seminars, do your classes, but don't try to hold people locked into you. It's not going to work. It's self-defeating because it's too easy for people to learn from other people. Don't be rigid. This is not a cult. It's a martial art. It's also not a martial art that at the time where your village may be fighting the next village and you had to keep your technique secret.
Yeah, we're not going to war.
There's no secret techniques anymore. 2 people go to war. They do not go to war with a stick or a knife as their primary weapon, or a sword even. You have to change with the times, which is funny to say. A lot of the younger guys are not, and 1 or 2 older guys I know. Don't be greedy. Don't be stubborn. Open up to the technology. Open up to the economic landscape you find yourself in. And, would you rather have 1% profits from Coca-Cola? Would you rather have 1% profits of, or 10% profits of Dom Perignon champagne? Just to, give it an example. Please don't fight. It's not only is it morally wrong, it's not good for business. For your own business, it's not good to fight. Get along with everybody.
At least try to.
Be polite, be civil, as in a civilized person should be. And you know what? You'll have more profits in the long run. You have less agina, as we see in Italian, in the long run. And you'll have more respect from the majority of students in the long run. Jared, why don't you close? You got 4 minutes before you
Yeah, let's
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of tell on what you said, I think it's people can really see. I mean, it's very obvious when you have, an instructor that it's just like, just like kids in the schoolyard that when their confidence is low, they have to tear down the other kids to kind of build themselves up. And you see that same things, unfortunately, sometimes in the martial arts world, where it's like, oh, my confidence in what I teach isn't so great, so I'm going to try and pull down what everyone else is doing. And I think it's counterproductive. I think you, like you said, you said it all, Tuhon, Bill. There's so many people out there that are going to it's a big market out there. There's a lot of people that it's a big world, but not just that, do what you do well. I've seen instructors that have done that and they didn't need to. They were really good instructors, and just by being who they are is going to attract students. But it's really not necessary sometimes. I think I think it speaks volumes when you're able to be more open, and it kind of tells a lot about how you are as an instructor, your character, when you're able to be more open to, hey, look how those guys are teaching it. I'm not worried. They'll do things better than I do, but I'll probably do some things better than they do at the same time. So it's that's okay. It's at the end of the day, it's good for the students that are training. It's more education and more healthy for them.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I want to thank you guys for both coming on. This was excellent. Of course, as usual, I will download it YouTube, share your guys' wall there. But I want to thank you again. Definitely, I'd like to bring you guys back on. I mean, when you guys get the collaborations going into Zoom, I'll do whatever I can to help promote it and get, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely take me up on that. I'll be happy to do. Jared, have a great plane flight. Tuhon, Bill.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Keep the sun off that, keep that hat on. All right, guys. You guys take care.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
the time.
you, Dean. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you. Take care. We'll see you.
Thank you to people who are watching.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot. I was so immersed with you guys, I didn't even look. So shame on me. All right, guys, take care.
All right, take care. See ya.
Bye-bye.
I got you. All right, it wraps up 478. Who is next? Next Tuesday, really interesting. I'm actually having a prison guard coming on who's actually going to discuss how the inmates train. Yeah, pretty scary stuff, what's going on behind the walls. And that's going to be Tuesday, I believe it's 7. You'll see the flyer. But anyway, yes, I was completely irresponsible. I did not look over here to the right of the comments. Shame on me. God sake, I'm sorry about the bad vibe I gave you. Bad vibe. Sorry, Zumba. Oh my God. Please remind you, he owes me an autograph. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. God, I hope I didn't miss any questions. So far I didn't. Okay. Yeah, usually I'm better at that, seeing what's coming in. And it looks like I didn't miss any. All right, there weren't any. Okay. What's all right. Yeah, I'm gonna be downloading it, Paulo, so you'll see it. Great. Okay. Yeah, absolutely, Lars. I'm glad you were able to jump in and see it. Available for I won't be simple. Eric O'Brien, I felt compelled. What did you feel compelled about, Eric? I can't believe I made the cut. Yeah. Well, you never know, Eric. I mean, so, all right, guys. Yeah, so Tuesday, check out that upcoming episode. Again, having a prison guard on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, we'll see you then.